My world was pitch black. In the total darkness where I couldn't see anything, nothing seemed to exist. I heard someone humming blissfully. What a lovely sound. Curiously, it had a calming effect. I slowly opened my eyes despite a splitting headache. I must have lost consciousness. Thick clusters of trees surrounded me. The sound of humming was still heard in the darkness. Huh? For some reason, I felt very strange. The scenery that came into view was somehow slanted. My head felt dizzy. I wasn't sure which way was up or down. I'm pretty sure the sky is up and the ground is down, right? Someone gently caressed my hair while I was staring absently at the sky. That tickles. The hand apparently belonged to the person who had been humming. How strange. That feels so comforting. I think I might fall back to sleep. But my subconscious mind was telling me that I shouldn't give in to this comfort. Right now, am I... The unspoken question helped me regain my senses. Am I lying down right now? In fact, is that someone's lap I feel? Wait, why am I... The humming abruptly stopped as I let out a high-pitched squeak.
Ah, Alice, you're awake.
Joker! The sound of a familiar voice made me realize whose lap I was resting my head on. I immediately sat up and put some distance between me and him. Joker. I sent him a glare before launching into a tirade. What is this all about? Why was my head on your lap?
Here we go.
Joker smiled wryly as he stood up, carelessly shrugging his shoulders.
You don't need to sound so wary, Alice. I'm not going to eat you alive.
The implication that I might be overacting got my hackles up. How am I supposed to react upon waking up to find my head on the lap of a stranger? It's only natural for me to be outraged.
Well, I suppose you do have a point.
Joker nodded in seeming acceptance of my censure, but his expression didn't falter. He spoke as if unfazed.
Surely you must bear some of the responsibility for unexpectedly falling from the sky.
What did you say?
All I am guilty of is taking care of you after you suddenly fell from the sky as I happened to pass by.
His words slowly brought the memories back. Come to think of it, I started to lose consciousness while I was talking to Luke, and... At the time, I felt like a rug had been pulled from under me, but I hadn't realized that I was actually falling. Although it all sounded so far-fetched, I also found it hard to believe that Joker was lying. Well, if that's the case... Regardless of the fact that I was taken by surprise, my behavior was reprehensible. Shame left me flustered and I dropped my head in resignation. I'm sorry, Joker. You didn't do anything wrong and I hastily jumped to conclusions. Thank you for letting me borrow your lap after I collapsed.
You're welcome, Alice.
Joker grinned as he executed a rather formal bow.
Under the circumstances, I laid not one but more than one finger on you while you were unconscious. But seeing as we were in public, I refrained from doing anything inappropriate, so you can relax.
If only he would graciously accept my thanks. Why did he have to phrase it like that? He doesn't seem like a bad guy, just sarcastic. I'm guessing he has a difficult personality. I let out a sigh before continuing. Can you at least tell me, what did you do to me?
Do you really want to know?
No, actually, I think I don't want to know. I tried picturing of how one treats an unconscious person, but the thought just made me flustered. I cleared my throat in an attempt to regain my composure. Also, there's one other thing I'd like to ask you. Am I the only one that came falling down?
Yeah, why do you ask?
I wasn't sure how I should respond to his question. Before I lost consciousness, I thought I was talking to Luke, a young man who called himself the Hatter. But I was no longer sure of myself. Especially since I couldn't remember anything prior to waking up in that strange place. But I'm certain of what Luke said. He said that I chose to be Alice. What did he mean by that? Joker smiled lightly while watching me as I tried to piece together my memories. Involuntarily, my brows knit together. I had a strange feeling that he could see right through my thoughts.
My, aren't we uptight? There's no need to glare at me.
His laughter was full of mirth before he suddenly whispered as if he was reminded of something.
Well, I suppose that shows a good judgment. You shouldn't blindly trust the words of a criminal.
His words stopped me in my tracks, and I found myself questioning Joker. A criminal? You?
An ex-criminal, to be exact. I've already served my time. Why are you quiet all of a sudden?
I'm just surprised. Now I realize that there are people in this world who can't trust so easily.
You have me there, Alice.
Joker's boisterous laughter was filled with mirth. I wouldn't have taken you for a criminal, but that explains a lot. Because you kind of...
Kind of what?
You smell like danger. Prompted by Joker, I spoke without thinking. I hadn't meant to say that. It's almost as if the words were forcibly pulled from where they had been dormant inside me.
Is that a compliment?
A part of me wanted to shout, saying, "Of course not!" For some reason, I hesitated to reply. What's the matter with me? I meant it when I told him that in this Wonderland you can't trust people so easily. At the same time, the more I spoke with Joker, the more I felt at ease. I'm sure it's just temporary insanity. If just talking to him made me this unsettled, Joker had to be very dangerous. I tried to brush off my momentary lapse and shook my head left and right.
Joker gave a small smile as he watched me. The curve of his lips was subtle, but there was a twinkle in his rose-colored eyes. He looked amused, or rather in a good mood. I could sense his deep interest, which was his curiosity about me. What is it?
Nothing really.
If it's really nothing, then you shouldn't mind telling me. Hiding it just makes me more curious. Why are you looking at me like that? I glared at him as I asked, but Joker just smiled wryly and proceeded to enlighten me.
I was curious about Alice. I wanted to know what she's like. I had such high expectations. I thought I would be disappointed when we actually met. But I find you fascinating. I really like you.
His words were straightforward. While he exuded sincerity, I couldn't help but regard him with suspicion. Pleasing you doesn't make me happy.
See, that kind of attitude only makes me like you even more.
His quick retort had me sighing deeply. I waved my hand and started walking. I need to go. Bye, Joker. There's no point in chatting with him anymore. I need to concentrate on finding the road home.
Go? Go where, Alice?
I'm going home. Joker spoke to me, but I didn't turn and kept walking. I had no idea where I was headed, but standing around wouldn't solve anything. I finally made it through the forest. The forest was awful. Its sole purpose seemed to be to confuse anyone who dared enter. What's that? I saw a shadow at the end of the path. My eyes rounded at the familiar sight of a silk hat. That's Luke. His eyes darted around. He looked to be in a hurry. I thought as I muttered to myself. If I keep going, I'll run right into him. I thought I'd take the opportunity to have a chat with him, and intuitively sped up when...
Not so fast.
Huh? Along with a sing-song voice came a strong hand from behind that clamped around my mouth. I didn't need to guess who the voice belonged to. Joker, you followed me?
Sorry. We have to hide.
Sorry is right. He is being a pain. Since I couldn't scream, I struggled instead. but my body was held in a tight grasp. Joker pulled me into the shadow of a tree where Luke couldn't see. He studied my profile intently.
By the way, Alice, weren't you with the Hatter right before you lost consciousness?
How did he know? That never came up in our conversation.
It wasn't that hard to figure out.
Joker must have sensed that I was flustered. He spoke calmly in a controlled voice.
Apparently, the Hatter has been frantically searching for someone. Besides, the reason you left the Hatter behind and fell from the sky most likely had to do with someone interfering with magic.
Magic?
My guess is that the Cheshire Cat was playing a prank on you.
What does that mean? This is all so confusing. Joker grinned when I looked at him in confusion.
Don't you see? Kyle didn't want you and Luke to be alone together. It appears you're well loved, Alice.
I wanted him to stop being so flippant. I glared at him in response to his teasing. Although, I suppose there's no point. Joker refused to relinquish his hold on me. Every time Joker said something, his breath caressed my neck, and it tickled. Of course, I tried my best to wrestle myself from his arms. Joker was surprisingly strong and didn't budge.
In any case.
Abruptly, he whispered. He wasn't looking at me, but at Luke, who was hurrying along the path.
This doesn't feel right at all.
Huh? Everything Joker said was so confusing. I wanted to ask, but I kept my mouth firmly shut. At least if he was looking at me, I could communicate with my eyes. He seemed to be completely lost in thought, and made no move to glance my way. But his arms never loosened, and held me tightly as I tried to break free. Ah! I was at the end of my rope. I stomped on his foot with all my might. That must have surprised him. He ended up releasing his hand. I took the opportunity to put some distance between us. That's enough! Joker looked at me askance as I unleashed all my pent-up frustration. Several seconds later, he came to his sense and apologized.
I'm sorry, Alice.
His quick apology came as somewhat of a surprise. But his next words again had me knitting my brows.
I have my own reasons. Try not to take it personally.
How can I not? As we stood there arguing, I lost track of Luke. I released a small sigh and said to Joker, "Why did you stop me?" I wasn't going to let him get away with trying to feign ignorance. So I looked him straight in the eyes. If I had kept walking, I would have run into Luke. Instead, you dragged me into the shadows.
Yeah, you're right.
Is there some reason you don't want me to see Luke? When I sought an explanation, Joker smiled lightly and nodded.
The Hatter seems to be plotting something. I don't want to take the chance of letting you get close to him before I know what he's planning. It could be dangerous.
Dangerous?
I mean, there's a good chance he's going to take away all of my fun.
I had mixed feelings and fell silent for a moment. I almost started to think you were worried about me. For a moment there, I started to think you might not be all that bad. I feel cheated for having wasted those precious seconds.
Don't be like that, Alice.
Joker looked like he was having so much fun as he laughed.
Regardless of what it looks like, in my own way, I am worried about you. Just watching all the different expressions play across your face is going to keep me from being bored and well entertained. On the other hand, if you were to go away, that wouldn't be half as fun.
Joker, do you know that you have a tendency to sound awfully self-centered? My sarcasm was mixed with a sigh, but Joker didn't seem to be bothered by it. He continued to watch me with a grin.
Incidentally, Alice, what do you plan to do now? Are you going to retrace your steps and follow the Hatter?
Well, thanks to you, Luke is long gone. My scathing retort seemed to have no effect on Joker, who kept on grinning. Besides, it's not like I feel the need to see him enough to run after him at the moment. Probably because, if my memory served me correct, Luke and I had just met. I had no idea if the Hatter was somebody worthy of trust. Joker, on the other hand, seemed to think that the Hatter was someone not to be trusted. For now, I think I'll go into town. I made up my mind and raised my head. If even one person knows of Amelie, it might help me with my lost memory. Yes, if only I could encounter someone who called me Amelie instead of Alice. I could be confident in the fact that I was Amelie.
I see. Very well. I'll go with you.
Why?
I'm interested in you, Alice. Does there need to be any other reason?
I couldn't describe how I felt at that moment, but I couldn't hide my inner turmoil. Are you going to stand in my way like you did just now?
If you're averse to having me stand in your way, I'll try not to. Of course, I reserve the right to stand by and watch.
I smiled wryly and shook my head. I appreciate your concern, but I'm more averse to being watched covertly. I'd rather you just stood your ground.
All right.
Joker laughed and nodded. His smile was surprisingly attractive. I do have one small favor to ask.
Favor? I suppose if you insist, Alice. I'll do my best to honor it.
See, that's just it. Everyone seems to be convinced without a doubt that I'm Alice. At least until I regain my memory and remember that I really am Alice. To be honest, I couldn't imagine a day like that ever coming. In any case, can I ask that you call me Amelie until I'm ready for you to call me Alice? All this time you've been calling me Alice, but it just doesn't feel right, because I consider myself Amelie.
I see.
Joker looked thoughtful for a moment as he considered my request.
I understand what you're trying to say. It can't be comfortable being called the name you don't recognize as your own. I have some reservations regarding your request, but I'm used to committing crimes. I suppose one more offense won't make any difference.
Huh? His voice drifted off in a whisper, and I couldn't catch the last part. Joker renewed his focus on me, and nonchalantly called me
Amelie. For starters, I'll guide you to the closest town from here.
Thank you, Joker. I smiled and voiced my appreciation. While I had decided to go into town, I obviously had forgotten how to get there on my own. That's why I appreciated his generous offer. Full of appreciation, I tagged along behind Joker as he started to walk. We reached an adorable town that had a rustic air about it. Unfortunately, it didn't conjure up any memories. It felt like my first visit. As I walked behind Joker, suddenly...
Huh? Joker, what are you doing? Huh? Is she who I think she is?
A very cheerful voice rang through the streets.
Where did you go, Amelie? It's time for the next preview? I am pretty occupied at the moment, but I suppose I have no choice if it's my duty. I need to read what's written on this sheet of paper, right? A mysterious gentleman approaches Amelie. He claims to know the road home that Amelie is searching for. Next episode, Approaching Danger. She will face danger. I must go now. I have to hurry and find Amelie.